So I'm live. I need you to talk for me. Right. Yeah, and we're the whole world is hearing our level check, but yet they can't hear you because for some reason it's not sending it across. So I set the cable output as the desktop speaker, and that's the one I'm looking at. Well, I have you through. Well, I have banana pointing. Like if you speak, your bar jumps up, and it's sending to desktop speakers. And desktop speakers is where. Yeah. Change the default. See what it does. All right, speak now.
This is me speaking now.
Yeah, and you are super loud. So you're getting
That-
turned down. Okay, now try.
This is still me speaking now. Loud.
Yeah, you're still too loud. All right, try one
Yeah,
more time.
I'm still speaking at the same normal everyday loudness level.
Yep, we're both speaking at the same level, and we're both hitting just at the yellow.
But are we
So,
both coming out on the stream?
we should be because it's saying so.
Okay.
I don't have a great way to test.
Okay,
Um,
so hold on 1 second. I need to check mine this end, so I need you to not say anything from it. Okay, I'm good this end.
You're good on that end.
I'm good on this end.
You're good on that end.
Are you good on that end?
I am good on this end. I think.
Alright.
Um, um,
Well, you know what? How about this?
I don't.
Why don't I just pull up your Twitch stream quickly?
Can you? Because yours is only. I mean, you're only sending. It,
Yeah,
it
no,
won't. It won't
I'll be
loop.
able to, no, but I'll be able to tell whether it's me
Right.
coming through.
You would, yeah. As opposed, because well, and you hopefully won't cause like a crazy reverb. And someone just liked
No,
my.
I won't because I'm on. I have your audio
You have it
this end
correctly.
on headphones.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm mic'd up because that's a professional word.
Right, and that's something that you actually do. Someone just liked our post that we're going live recording a podcast.
Okay, I can hear it on the stream.
You can?
Yep.
Cool.
Hello, stream world.
Hello, Stream World. So what I'm doing it as is I'm basically doing it as a just chatting. So all it is my picture, and then over here is Graphics Guru and Peter, and we haven't started the stream yet. I mean the podcast yet, but we're going to be recording our podcast episode today. And I figured I'd bring you guys into this since I'm at home and I can do that.
And which podcast would that be? Notice the way that he totally fails to sell the whole bit about you should go find this podcast by telling you about the podcast.
Because in the notes of the stream, it already has the link to the podcast. Because I did good things.
I'm driving down a motorway,
Oh.
watching Twitch, and
Well,
can't
that's
read the
not
text.
cool. So it is. So the easiest way, there's a couple ways of getting to it. The easiest way is anchor.fm/gamecode. The podcast name is actually Geezers Who Game and Code is the name of the podcast.
I'm the
and-
geezer, you're the game. Code.
No, we're both old.
All right.
Picking
so
up my
let's-
Pokemon today, we have realized how old I truly am.
So this is the pre-chat banter, and I'm
Yes.
actually going to set up the recording here, and it'll be
Yes.
very difficult to tell the difference between the two. Because
Rightfully so.
I never can. All right, hold on 1 second. I'll do an introduction then,
You do an introduction.
and we'll take it from there.
And I'm going to add a source of some text to show this on the stream also because...
Okay, see, I got to do the introduction without you talking.
Yes, you do.
All right, here we go. All right, everybody, it's another episode of the Geezers Who Game and Code podcast, and we're doing something a little different and a little modern because not only are we recording this episode live, and by live, I mean the special thing is that Master Nooms is streaming this live on Twitch as we record, because why would you not stream a game podcast whilst recording the podcast on a gaming platform? It's so modern, so modern. So hello, Master News.
Hey, yes, that is what we're doing today.
Tell them right now, for the people where they can find your stream, which is a bit weird because they'll be listening to it in the past as opposed to those who are listening to it right now.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I am in a couple different places. We have, sorry, typing. We are out in YouTube under Master Space Nooms is my channel name. On
Well, how
Twitch,
can there be a space in the URL?
it's the channel name, not the. I don't have a custom URL. I have to get 100 subscribers before you can get a custom URL on YouTube.
Oh,
In case you didn't know that, yeah, my YouTube is about 12 characters long, and it is
Okay.
ugly as sin.
Wow. See, I'm over the 1,000 mark, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know because you're cooler than I am, whereas
It's
I'm
true.
not as cool
You're
as
not
you.
cooler than you are.
I'm not cooler than me. I'm not even close to as cool as you.
Yeah.
So in the stream now, there's also, in case you're watching the stream, there's a link to the thing on the stream as well as in the notes, because meta. Anyway,
So this episode, I think that actually, originally I thought this episode would be about how I'm totally burned out on you, but it turns out that's not a thing.
that's not a
So-
thing.
so
And if it is a
we-
thing, it's what we're talking about, because I don't
Okay.
want my wife getting any ideas to think that she can be burned out on me.
Dude, I'm pretty sure that like the day after she got married, she's like, "Wow, I'm totally burned out on this."
You're a jerk.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
so
what she said.
so basically, kind of what I wanted to talk about was something that I'm experiencing right now, hardcore,
Okay.
which is game fatigue.
All right, and you know, joking aside, there is a funny side to this, but there
Mhm.
actually is a serious side to this as well.
Yeah.
Because even though it's not like, you know, I don't want to say it's like an official disease or anything, I actually feel in the future it will be a thing.
Yeah, and I feel it's one of those things where the problem is there's two kinds. When you say the term gamer fatigue, it can mean one of two things also.
Yeah, so
So-
let's quickly rule out the one that it isn't.
So what I'm not talking about is game fatigue as in I am tired of playing games.
Okay,
So-
just wanted to clear that up.
That
because
is
I feel like
not
that's the
what we're
easy one
talking
to
about.
knock on the head right now.
It is. I will agree. So, like, if you know me, and if you happen to be watching the stream, or if you're going to watch the stream later after hearing the podcast, if you look behind me, I have a ton of game stuff. I got Bowser and Charmander right behind my head. I mean, you can see my, all kinds of stuff. But I'm not talking about fatigue in that manner. The type of fatigue I'm talking about is there's just too much going on nowadays. And I was actually discussing it with the guy at GameStop today when I went to go pick up Pokemon. I look at it, and there's been 4 or 5 just awesome games, at least for me, released in the last just couple months that I don't have time to play all of them.
Okay, so I actually don't feel you've made it quite clear yet
Okay?
what you mean by the game fatigue. So just
I'm tired.
pinpoint that for us.
I'm tired. No. So it's that aspect of you sit down at your computer, you open up Steam, Epic Game Launcher, Battle.net, what else do I have open? Twitch you can play games off of now. Those are the 4 main ones that I have on my start menu. That all launch. Oh, and the Bethesda launcher for the one game that I don't play anymore. They all kind of come up, right, when you start your computer. Well, when that happens, you look at them all, and you're like, okay, I got for me, these are the games that I'm dealing with. You got Final Fantasy 14. You got the Pokemon Sword and Shield that just dropped, which I'm playing Sword. My daughter's playing Shield. You got the BattleNet stuff that there's updates, but not really going on. You've got the Fallout games, the Outer World that came out. There's so many good games just dropping every day, and so you have to sit there and you're like, okay, I want to play that, and you start playing it, and you get like 3 minutes into it, and then something else is like, or your friends on a server, they're like, hey, come play this, and you're like, okay, great, and then you drop what you're doing and you run over there, and then you drop what you're doing and you run over here, and you don't get anything done in any said games. And you just feel tired about it.
So
grumpy.
I want to jump in here with just a couple of quick initial thoughts before we really get into the analysis of this. So, firstly, I feel that this is primarily, and we'll sort of talk about it from a new aspect, but also in general as well. So, I feel that part of this, no question that this is all self-inflicted to begin with. Okay?
Of course.
I mean that's now, but I want to qualify that a little bit because, all right, hang on, I'm gonna have to edit this out. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. So it's funny because people will actually get to hear the unedited version too, which actually is not really that different, but
it's not. It's not.
Yeah. So let me loop back to where I was. Okay. So we're agreed that it's self-inflicted, but it's also because I think this is primarily a problem for adults because adults can afford to buy more games in such a short space of time. And so it does come into that. That's where it's self-inflicted, which is.
And it's definitely a first world problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, if you didn't buy them, you wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah.
And it's only because you can buy them that you do. But it's kind of that. Okay. I don't think we've ever discussed it, but we all know that, or at least I'm a huge coffee drinker. So it's like, yes, because I can buy myself a $3 cup of coffee every couple of days or whatever, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But if I couldn't, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and it's
right?
There are some places, there are some countries and some areas where StarCraft, the original, and Warcraft 3 and stuff like that are still actively played a ton. And it's like, how? And then you stop and think about it and you're like, well, older PCs, older games, and when you have something you love, why pick something else up? And then I look at myself and I'm like, but I pick them all up.
Well, exactly. And so I was going to say again here, another sort of thing. It's, that's because you allow ADD to take control of it for you.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Now, of course, there's multi-factors to this problem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to say that I don't feel like I have that now because. So since you've gone through your list, I'm going to go through my list because all I, and there's one aspect you forgot to mention, which as soon as I say it, I know you're going to jump on it. So wait until I finish.
Okay.
I'm playing Destiny 2. Okay. Idling to the Gods, right? But Idling to the Gods sort of doesn't count because you only touch it every so often, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only playing. Actually, I'm only playing one mobile game. So, now, do I have lots of others? Yes, of course I do. Okay, Asphalt 9 on the Switch. Oh, sorry, Wolfenstein, I've just started streaming that storyline again. So you should all catch my stream for that. So at most, I only have 5 things begging for my attention. And the beauty of that is, there are certain times I can do certain ones, and certain times for the most part, I can't do any of them, and so on and so on. So I don't really have the problem. I could have the problem if I allowed myself to install a ton of other games that I do own, and do that. And in some ways, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, the fact that for me, put aside Destiny 2,
Mm-hmm.
everything else is, well, I've got to be able to do it on the Switch,
Mm-hmm.
actually makes it less of a problem for me because you can only have one card in the Switch at any one time, be it a download or if it's a game card, it's only got one game. But if you download, you're only going to get a couple of games on that card at max.
Yep.
So unless you want to go through the pain, and it is a pain, of switching the card and having to turn it off, turn it on. Yeah, I know it only takes a minute, but you've got to find the card, take it out, put it in, so on and so on, which is like, oh, forget it. Too much hassle. So for me, it solves itself.
And on that note, I really do feel that at this point the game cards are worth the purchases themselves because of that issue with cards, like the memory cards as opposed to the game cards.
Right, but it because you have to swap them. It's like, okay, that's kind of making me stop and go, well, do I really want to do that? But
Yeah.
but the bit that I was expecting you to sort of leap on a bit was the fact that I don't play hardly any mobile games.
You don't, and I have. I have a lot. I didn't even talk about my mobile games.
That's my point. I'm
And-
surprised
and
you didn't bring that
my-
into it because that's going to make the problem 1,000 times more.
Well, and so let's see. If we want to talk about that, I have a folder called Sarah and Zoe, and those are the Sarah and Zoe games.
We don't have enough time
7,
in the world for you to list them all.
16, 19.
Exactly. See. So that's what I'm saying is, again, it's like, well, because you allow yourself to have this problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and it's like we were talking about with Destiny. You spent a weekend doing some streaming. I saw, and
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch any of it because I was busy rearranging my house.
Oh, dude, you missed some epic
That's what you were telling me.
PvP play. I was like, oh my god.
But at least you
Even
recorded
I was
them.
like, yeah, I know, and some of it I didn't even record it because it's like, I've been watching me do this 1,000 times. This is
Yeah.
so awesome. Anyway,
So, but Destiny 2, bunch of new stuff. Like I still have new stuff because I'm still far behind.
oh yeah, see, you have, I mean, like at this point,
Yeah.
arguably, I could actually stop and say, well, I've done the expansion except for the raids.
And the
You know.
and the extra quests and stuff.
Well, but what I'm saying is, but they're not important, and as in, I've finished the storyline and everything else. I've opened up the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I could walk away at this point and say, well, I've done everything that I need to do,
Yep.
except for the raid or raids. And everything else is like, well, yeah, this is the stuff that keeps me playing, but I mean, it's like I could walk away.
Yeah, and like I still have those to do, and then Final Fantasy 14 dropped some new stuff, and then of course I'm going to be in Pokemon up until when I'm the champion, because I mean, and I have to say, Peter, you will really once you get to the point of deciding you're done with and you're ready to start a new game, because you're better and more adultish at handling this than I am. The Galar region, you're really going to enjoy it, because the main character doesn't have a mom.
Well, so here's my thing.
He or she has a mum.
I don't.
They
I'm
start
not-
it straight up from that point. It is straight up. They don't even pretend. It's Britain, and some of it is
Well-
really cool.
As a side sort of thing, without diving into that, I've still not convinced myself I'm going to play it yet, just because it's $60.
Oh, I know.
But we should not allow ourselves to deviate down that path.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to talk about it too much because I'm sure there's a whole episode in that. At some
Well, and I'm only because like I went and I waited. It was hard. This is a game fatigue thing. I went and picked them up this morning at my lunch break, and then they sat here on my desk waiting for me to pick up my girls, because I didn't want to start it without Zoe, because I thought it would be mean. My 10-year-old daughter, for those of you who don't know who Zoe is, or Rain is her gaming name, if you happen to see her around me. I didn't want to start without Rain because it would be mean. And so I didn't. And I'm very proud of myself. But it was hard.
No, I'm sure. So I tell you what, let's take a quick break, and I think when we come back, we'll sort of pretend like we know what the hell we're talking about, and analyze and sort of dive into the how we fix this. Right?
How we actually fix it? Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
So this, guys that are live, this is the part where Peter tries to be silent for a few moments so he can insert the ad, and then I talk the whole time, and he has to go back and re-edit it, and I'll say things that make no sense during this part of the podcast, and it's great sometimes to irritate him. But sadly today I'm not sitting in front of him, so it's not as efficient.
No,
Effective.
and I also wrote down the timestamp so I know when the break is.
Dang it!
Yeah, I know. See, I knew you'd try, and I'm like, I'm gonna get it. Because I know from last time with his whole like break. So I'm like, I'm not. This only happens 5 times before I pick up on this.
And then
Alright.
when he restarts, he's gonna restart here in a minute, and I'll interrupt him at least twice that he has to edit, just for the fun of it too. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, let's come back from the break.
And now that we're back from break, we're gonna talk about how much we love Zoe and Rain and my other daughter, Sarah, Fina, Gabriella. Not saying your last name, baby. Go on. Okay.
Okay, we're back.
And we're back.
And we're not really back because I know we're not really back.
Well, no, we're really back now.
Are we really back?
We're really back.
And we're back.
And we are back. See? I was agreeing. No, I don't get to do that. Was it too far?
I'm starting to see why nobody listens or watches his stream. At least I have 2 more than you. That makes me.
You do. Right now I am at 0. But
You know
there's-
what? You need to set up your software to stream to Periscope. That has been great for me.
I do need to, and my mixer is currently waiting. I'm on a 24-hour hold. I didn't know I hadn't done the streamer key. Little tip out there for anyone trying to start streaming: make sure you've set up all of your stuff and done one test stream to everything first.
Yeah.
Because like I wanted to hit Pokemon. This is the first thing I'm gonna put on mixer, and then like I got in it and it was like, you have to wait 24 hours, and I'm like, for you to do what?
I'm not sure if I have Mixer set up actually because, and we're still not back from the break.
Sure we are.
No, we're not.
We just gave sound advice to people. We have to be back from the break.
That's why we're not putting that in the podcast. Not starting that now. I don't know if I'm on Mixer or not because I have that game bar thing, NVIDIA, whatever, Windows, whatever. And I'll have to look into it. All right, let's set this up and get back.
Okay.
And we're back. All right, so I think now what we should do is sort of dive into figuring this out a little bit. So let's start here. First of all, how do you think this came about? Let's start there.
So I think it's a combination of things. Like, back in the day when gaming was just getting started, the only place it was PC.
Yeah.
And then they weren't big and they weren't good and you got through them pretty quick. And I think it has to do with the rise of games that don't end. So like back in the day, most RPGs, most standard RPGs, they have a start and an end. And then different games started this whole open world thing and side quests and all these other things, which elongate the amount of time you spend in the game, so you never really finish a game.
So, before we go any further, it's my turn to distract you.
Okay.
Talking about the old games and how that used to be. Played a little bit of Wolfenstein 2 the other day.
You did.
Went to the cafeteria on the sub.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of arcade machines. Walked up to one of the arcade machines, and yes, it's totally a playable Doom.
No.
It totally is. Check it out on my stream, twitch.tv/graphics guru or grfx guru, or on YouTube, /GRFXG. Yeah, I went in there and I'm like that looks like dude. Walked up to it and I'm like, can I interact with this? Oh hell yes I can. And then it was totally the Doom game.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, but you're right. It wasn't a problem because, well, firstly, there was only when I say a few, I mean a relative few compared to today. Games that were like, yeah, this thing's gonna stick around for a while.
And only a few people actually making them.
Yes, yeah, that's the other thing too. And of course it's relative. I mean, you probably, if you was to work out the percentages, I'm gonna bet the percentage of people back then that were addicted to playing Half-Life and Half-Life 2 probably balances out if you factor in the amount of game ratios and so on compared to today, right? So maybe it was just as bad.
It was, but the fatigue. The only time you got gamer fatigue back then was because I've played this game too much.
Well, and the other thing, especially in England, when online gaming was a thing, it was self-imposing rules because I don't know about now. I haven't lived in England for nearly 20 years, as you can tell by the accent. But back then, at least, you paid for every minute that you was online to the phone company.
Yeah, and that was a big difference back in the day.
Exactly.
Because of your modems and stuff. And nowadays, I mean, you look at what is going on in China right now. China's at a point where they're trying to figure out what the limits should be, and they're talking about limiting people to only being able to play 2 hours of video games a day.
I can totally see the attraction.
I can.
Don't get me wrong.
I don't want it.
I'm not.
I don't want it
or anything. But maybe that is somewhat of an answer to the problem. Is, well, if you can, just like everything, if you cannot regulate yourself, someone has to regulate you for your own good.
And another thing they're regulating is microtransactions.
Well,
they're actually, as a government, putting a foot down and going, okay, depending on your age, depends on how many microtransactions you're allowed to complete per month.
Again, I'm not enforced. I'm not either. I'm not gonna. I'm almost loath to comment on it, but I can see the attraction of the idea because it probably is a good thing.
And
but
I was looking at
it.
The
flip side of me says, no, but no one should regulate for me. I should be able to choose to opt into regulation.
I agree, and it's one of those things where it definitely makes you double think because you're like, this is weird. But on the same token, they're going through a cultural shift where it might be required.
But maybe that stops the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
And maybe...
then arguably, depending on which side you want to come down, and I'm going to play devil's advocate, it's like, yeah, but you stopped the problem by making another problem. Well, but I'm being repressed. Well, okay. I'm not going to say that's not true.
Yeah, I'm not going to... I mean, it would not fly in America. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But let's spin it back around to you.
Yeah, and so with me, I'm trying to semi-self-regulate in similar manners.
I don't think you can do it. And what I mean
I don't
by
think I
that
can.
is, I don't think anyone can do it because the problem is with anything that is addiction-like, you can't self-regulate.
Anything that releases dopamine, and for every person that's different things. And I am a gamer. We've made a conversation in the past. I view gamers. There are two types of people in the world. There are people who play games, because everyone does, even if it's just a mobile game. Everyone plays games at this point. Or gamers. The difference is, a person who plays games goes to work, has their family, does their things, and then they play games. A gamer goes to work to pay for games. And to me, that's always been the difference. And I know it's a gross generalization, and it's just wrong, but it's how I've always felt about it. And so, if you haven't cried during a game release, or you haven't done this, or you haven't done that, then you're just a person who plays games, which isn't a bad thing.
But the thing with that is like, okay, you know, but that's still, you know, it's just not one of those things where 50% of the cure is recognizing the problem, right? I
Sure,
mean,
it is.
that's just saying,
Right?
I've put a name to the problem, but I'm still doing it.
I really wonder, is there a GA out there somewhere? A Gamers Anonymous. I really wonder if there is.
Well, I mean, that's a fair question, right? But does that
Because it can.
does that really solve the problem? I mean, how do
No.
you? It's not like, you know, if you want to go down that path, it's not like, say, an alcohol problem or a drug problem or anything like that, where
Unless
the
you're willing to
first-
cut it.
Well, hang on. What I was going to
Okay.
say was where the effect is very obvious if you fall off the wagon. People can tell.
Have you ever seen the South Park episode about World of Warcraft?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
No, I know what you're saying though. Yeah,
you know, it's
a
you
different
can't
thing.
look at
It's-
someone and go, I can tell you spent the last 3 hours playing game.
yeah, it's definitely a different type of addiction for those people who are truly addicted.
And also because this day and age, what do? How do you stop that? Well, you got to take someone's phone away.
Yep. And I know someone who doesn't have a smartphone for that reason.
No, and I mean, there
And
are people, right? But the people
I'm not
who
going
can
to, but yeah.
recognize that and sort of self-regulate is not the group we're talking about here,
No.
right? Because arguably they don't have a problem because they can self-regulate themselves out of it,
Exactly.
right? So okay, so let's move on to another part of it then. So you or whoever realizes, all right, that's the bracket I'm in. I've got to make that decision whether I'm comfortable to stay in that bracket or move out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to stay in it, it's not much conversation there. But if you choose to want to get out of it, therein lies the problem. It's like, well, how do you do that? Because I don't believe you can self-regulate. I believe the only way you can self-regulate yourself is to get rid of everything, or to say to someone, look, stop me from doing this. But that's not going to work, because it's like saying, okay, you know, don't let me have any donuts this week, until the point where I'm begging you to let me have a donut. And eventually you're going to let me have a donut.
Yeah, because you're just going to get annoying, and I don't care about you that much.
So, I mean, how do you fix this problem?
So I know part of it for me has been this past fall, ever since summer, I've had to make some hard decisions of I could afford certain games, and I've just not. There's a big group of games that I haven't picked up because I know.
Yeah, and I get that, but that's still not, you know, that's like
It doesn't
saying,
solve the problem, no, but
you know, I've got 150 bottles of liquor. I'm not going to buy any more, but I've still got 150 bottles of liquor.
you just slowly drink
That's-
those 150.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, I can still have this. I've got enough to have this problem for a long time.
No, I agree. And I know what you're saying, and it's true. And it's not an easy answer. That's something that you have to deal with, and you have to talk about it individually. I know with myself, part of it is I have a wonderful wife who understands that if I'm not careful, I will fall into the, hey, I just played video games till 5 o'clock in the morning accidentally. And hey, I just spent the last 12 days and I just sat behind this computer and played games. And if it was a career, that's okay, but it's not for me. And so I do self-impose some limits, and she self-imposes some limits. And that's kind of how the only way I handle it.
Yeah,
for me
but
personally.
I mean, I think you know,
It doesn't fix it, no.
No. I was gonna say, let's be fair and let's be honest. I think it's more a case of the yeah, that lasts for a little while, but then you're right back there again.
Sometimes.
Right. So, I mean, all of this said, right? So we've sort of crossed over from the fatigue to the addiction part in a way.
We did.
So to bring it back to the fatigue part, because none of that helps solve the fatigue, right?
No.
So, I mean, you're stuck with that, is what I guess what I'm saying. And there's nothing. There's nothing to stop the fatigue.
There really isn't. Not in today's society. It's just kind of like TV shows and movies. Marvel fatigue. There's actually people saying Marvel fatigue is a thing right now because there's so many Marvel movies out, so many Star Wars movies out, so many, so much things you can.
That's a good example. So
it is.
For example, you know, I grew up. I'm old enough. I grew up when the original Star Wars came out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and it was the best, most awesome thing ever. But since the newer ones came out, as in not
since
the
Disney?
first three.
Since
Well,
Disney?
so I don't really want to point at Disney because let's be honest, I'm talking about the ones before Disney even purchased it.
Oh, you mean even 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, so I'm saying like the first three that came out in the 70s, whatever, right? You know, after that, they have pushed so much on me that I fast forwarded the last one, and I didn't even watch most of the one before that because I'm so just, God, I hate Star Wars at this point.
And I'm gonna be honest, it's not even for me. It's not even about the Skywalker saga, because you know this next movie is the last one of the Skywalker. It's not even that. I got Disney Plus, and The Mandalorian looks great. Have no desire to watch it.
Right. So what I'm saying is, I mean, this does apply to other things, right?
It does. It's not just games.
Binge gaming is a thing. So I don't. I feel like even as you know, here we are half an hour in, and it's like, there's clearly no.
Which is why governments, in and of themselves, are having these discussions right now, also, and psychologists and people are actually having these big discussions. People much smarter than you or I, mainly me, because you're smarter than I am. But people much smarter than us, sitting around going, "How do we fix this?" And them going,
Well,
so I mean,
in the meantime, to sort of go back to our previous episodes, I'm not gonna repeat it all. But in the meantime, we have teenage kids bawling their eyes out on the internet because they got banned from the game.
Yeah. For something that's not real.
I mean, gosh, this could get complicated. It's only a matter of time before someone with enough problems gets so unhappy about something that something else happens.
I hate to tell you, it's already happened.
I'm sure it probably has.
Yeah.
But because it's not a big thing, news people won't jump over it and glorify.
Right.
You know, I almost said glorify it, but maybe that is the truth because they just
sadly sometimes they do.
They take these things into such like, oh, this is gonna get clickbait. You know.
Fair warning, and we might have to edit something here in a second, just in case this cat jumps on me, and I'm just giving you that heads up.
Then how would I know?
You'll know, because I'll start cussing because she'll dig her claws into me because she's not a gentle soul.
I hear the bell. So.
Yeah. She's hovering. She wants attention, and I'm trying to pacify, but that doesn't mean she's not going to jump on me and try to
fair
rip
enough.
my flesh out.
So, you know, that's the problem is that, well, there is... Absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow.
she says, and she was a good girl. She didn't claw me. But she says she agrees that, you know, video games are a problem because I don't pay enough attention to her when I play games. That's what she thinks.
So if I was to say to you, okay, well then just tell yourself, I'm going to allow myself to play 2 hours a day, and whatever I pick, whether it's one game or 5 games, whatever, 2 hours is the limit. I mean, I just know that's not going to be a thing.
Do we count mobile games?
Well, exactly. That's
it's never going to happen.
I just
then.
know that's not going to be a thing.
No,
right?
It won't be.
And
that's why I do try to limit my computer time recently. I've actually set a schedule for when I'll be streaming, which I know that's shocking. I know I can't believe that I've actually done this, but I set a stream schedule, and that's going to be the majority of my actual PC gameplay. There are going to be some randos because of the Switch, and you know, I'm actually using that to spend time with my daughter at this point.
Well, and
So
see,
there are
that's,
situations like that. But
that's part of the reason that I'm putting it this way, because I don't. We're making light of some of this, but at the same time, there's parents out there having to deal with this real problem.
yeah,
And so
and I did.
I don't want it to seem like we're making light as in
We are
this
not.
isn't a real thing, because
So-
it is.
I'm an adult. You're an adult, right? We can make the decisions of how to spend our time because we understand the consequences and what happens to our brains and how it affects our chemistry, how it affects our moods. We understand those things. My daughter, she got home from school, right? I might or might not have picked her up early since it's game release day, but that's neither here nor there. We immediately started, we got it going, and we started playing. And she played for an hour and a half. And we got to, close to that hour and a half. And I was like, okay, just so you know, you got other things you got to do in life. You've got homework. You've got, you. And so, hypocritical or not, some people might view it as hypocritical. I cut her off at just under 2 hours. And was like, hey, you got other stuff to do. If you get it all finished, we'll talk tomorrow. But I'm not going to let her try to self-regulate, because as a child, and that's one of the things children trying to regulate, if a parent doesn't step in and help that regulation, they don't have at the same level of self-control. That's why we protect our children from so many vices, is because they can't. And I think it's another area where parents have to.
Well, that's why, on the one hand, the answer is that, if this is a problem with kids, parents just need to just force their kids, go through the pain of like, yeah, those kids are going to hate you, but you need to stop them gaming. Right? And that's why, for me, it's like, I'm not so much talking about that group, because to me the answer is simple, which is, yeah, you need to make sure they're not doing this too much, and that's on you.
But sadly, they're not.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, that is the parent's responsibility.
Yes.
And I say that as an avid gamer. Don't let them go down the path to begin with.
No. You should not allow, especially during developmental years, you should not allow your kid to decide, I'm going to sit here and play this game for 8 hours.
Right. Now, in the second group, the adult group, I guess, for want of a better definition, if you feel you have a problem with this, then you need to do your best to try and self-regulate it, or have someone totally impose this upon you. Right? And I'm talking about even the extreme of, okay, well then maybe if you're using something that has child protection controls, you need your significant other to put that in place and not tell you what the password is.
Some people definitely need that.
To treat you like a child.
Yeah. Significant others treating their significant others as children is sometimes necessary.
Yeah, and as I know, I get it. I know how funny that sounds, but I'm very serious, right? Because there needs to be something in place to limit you that you cannot get around.
Yeah. And, sometimes it comes down to other things, like toy snakes and other things.
What?
Nothing.
Okay.
But you should really be watching the stream at some point in the future.
Okay. Yeah, see, that doesn't translate to the podcast.
It doesn't, but I might or might not be playing with a toy snake.
Okay. Not helping me get the serious point.
No, it's not. But it is a serious point of...
No, it is. That's what I'm saying, is you need someone to put something in place that you cannot circumnavigate around.
Yeah, because you always will.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the answer to that, right? And you're going to hate it because guess what? Yes, it's a withdrawal like many other things. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're going to be sitting there with, I'm putting my hand in the air and say, I've done it. I'm betting you're going to do the same. When you don't play games and you're sitting there, you're like, well, what the hell do I do in life right now? That's when you know you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And that should be your warning sign that says, oh boy, I need to deal with this.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. All right, well, we're at the 40-minute mark here. I really hope that this episode has given pause for thought for some people, and maybe avenues to either recognize they have this problem or to try and figure out ways to start dealing with this. Because if you don't have it now, you may in the future. But because of the way the world is, anyone that's listening that's got kids or is at a teenage age right now, I guarantee you're going to have this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's the craze, right? I mean, this is the world we live in now where the digital life is presented as being more important than the other one in some ways.
And it's not going to get easier.
No, because there's too much money. Like we've said before, esports and everything else, too much money. And anytime there's a significant amounts of money either being used to buy whatever or promote or sell, I mean, it's kind of like the cigarette thing in some ways. They're not going to help you stop this.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's companies, you know, their thing in life is we need you to play computer games. And sure, they can, I'm not picking on anyone, they can flash up as many warning signs about you should not play this for X amount of time or whatever. But it's kind of one of those like, well, yeah, of course, cigarette companies are going to help promote not smoking because they know you can't help yourself smoke.
Yeah.
So they can tell you to stop as much as you want because they know they've got you.
Yep.
And games are kind of like that.
Yep. I'll
right?
agree completely.
You know. And the other problem here, part of that too, is, you know, games that, and without getting into it, but games that have advertising, they're again, it's like, yeah, well, they need you to play the game, watch the advert, because that's their thing. Right? You have to find a way to take care of this yourself or have someone help you do it, because games companies, whatever, that there's zero interest in from them as to helping you stop doing it. Okay. Anything else?
That's it for me. That's really what I wanted to discuss, and it's a heavier topic than we usually discuss.
It is, but it's an important and
needed.
timely topic because it's only one that's going to get more and more important over time.
Yeah, it's definitely hard.
Yeah, no question of it. All right, well, I'm going to be streaming this weekend for sure. I don't know what yet. I'm probably going to stream some more Wolfenstein or something because I'm sort of getting back in. Not that I was out of it, but now that I've got my Elgato hardware set up again, and I can stream it through Streamlabs, studio software, and so on, it makes it more manageable for me. I know you've got your new streaming stuff.
I've got all my new streaming stuff set up.
I'm sure you're going to be doing more streaming over the weekend. We'll put it in the show notes, but just remind everybody, where can they find you?
Twitch Master Nooms. Twitch.tv/Master Nooms is the easiest, probably. And then I'm all over the place from there.
All right. So yeah, I'm on twitch.tv /GRFX. Is that the graphics guru? That is the graphics guru one, isn't it? GRFX GURU. But you can also now, I've embedded my stream into a website page to make it easy. So you can go to uibuzz.com/streaming, and you'll find the stream in there for when I go live. So that's that. And you can send us your comments. And I can't believe people don't have comments and opinions on this subject as much as any of the others, but in particular this one. So why not send us something on Twitter? You can find us at GGCPod.
Yep.
And we would love to hear from you, or send us comments, shout-outs, whatever. And who knows, maybe we'll feature it in a future episode.
All right.
All right, that's it. Thank you, sir. I am no doubt we'll be playing some stuff at the weekend, and we'll talk about that next week.
Yep, me as well.
All right, see you, everybody. All right, stop recording. I'll be editing that probably either tonight or tomorrow. Sometimes I edit these while I'm waiting for, like, okay, it's going to take 3 hours to get to that planet on Destiny, so I might as well edit an episode.
Well, and I really don't want to go to work tonight, man. I got to tell you.
Well, but that's because of the very addiction we just spoke about.
Part of it is, and part of it's just,
Oh well, you can't argue with ugh.
I know, right?
I mean, ugh is a thing.
Yeah. All
Well,
right. Well, and all the people who happen to at some point might watch this stream, it was great
leave
talking to you
comments
guys.
on your stream,
Yep.
right? I
Leave
can't
comments.
believe people don't have opinions about this.
It's shocking. It is shocking.
I mean, people must have opinions, even if it's like you guys are so full of you know what.
Yeah.
You know,
Make
this
sure
isn't
make
a
sure to
problem
make
that
sure to
we
make a
all know.
hashtag for this of game addiction, and I guarantee, if we are going to get comments, it's going.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so well, we'll leave it there. I'll let you get on with having your fun with setting up your stream. Yeah, I know you've got lots of new hardware
No,
and stuff
sadly,
to
I'm
get set up. And the
I'm
good
literally
thing is,
walking
once
out
you've
the
got
door.
it set up, it'll be like mine. And say, great, I can just walk straight up to this and turn it on.
Sorry, I'm dying.
Maybe I should get around there and get the good stuff before anyone else does.
Yeah, right. I don't know what that was.
I can get a Nintendo Switch, another Elgato. Couple
Okay.
of kids.
I'm back. My face is even red. That was. I don't know
Yeah,
where that came from, but no, I'm going actually as soon as we hit end.
You're gonna go.
I'm going to
right?
change clothes and go to work because I'm supposed to be there at 6. So.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it there.
All right. Have a great one.
See you all on the stream later, and
See
I'm
you.
sure we'll speak again soon.
Yep.
See ya.